Hey horror fans, Bored now back with you. On this video I'm going to be talking about Slumber Party Massacre 2021, so the most recent Slumber Party Massacre film, which was treated as kind of like a soft reboot or little bit of a remake of the original movie but with a spin on it. So this was a sci-fi original, and I watched this for the first time over the last month, so this is me completing the 4 Slumber Party Massacre movies so far. The setup to the movie is that we start in 1993 with a flashback, so you have this character of Trish having a slumber party, because of course she is, and it's at this resort in Holly Springs, California, where all her friends are killed by a psycho who has escaped from a local mental institution. The way they do it is at first they make it look like it's going to be Trish's creepy ex-boyfriend who's going to be the killer. He's outside watching the girls dancing. He's masturbating in a very Slumber Party Massacre style scene. He's killed, as are the friends, as I said, and Trish ends up surviving, and she thinks she's killed the killer, that being Ross, as he ends up in the lake. And then years later, when Trish is now an adult and has a teenage daughter, Dana goes on a girls' weekend away with her best friend. There's a stowaway, that's Alex, who's like the younger sister of one of the other girls. And they end up breaking down in the exact same location as the slumber party all those years ago with Trish, the mother, where the killings happened. And wouldn't you know it, history starts repeating them itself as there's another psycho killer on the loose. And for a lot of the movie, it plays with the idea that it could be the original killer, then he could actually still be alive, but there's twists on the way. So that's the setup for Slumber Party Massacre 2021. There are some familiar beats in there. There's also a few twists, so that's in the film's favour. Overall, I'm a bit mixed on this one. Like, I'm really conflicted, and I think some of that is because as I was watching the film, I didn't realise how tongue-in-cheek it was and how much of a comedy it was. It definitely leans into like the feminist stuff like the original movies do, because the original movies, especially for the time, were seen as like quite strong female-led feminist movies where eventually the girls would turn the table on like the psycho killer. And because it's 2021, this film can play with those tropes even more, and it does. But for a lot of the film, I felt it was just going for a straight up slasher type vibe and just playing it quite straight as a horror movie rather than being tongue in cheek, rather than being witty and having this more subversive sort of turn. So it wasn't really till you get to the back half of the movie, like the final 20 minutes, I would say, where I started to get a bit more into the humour and a bit more into the characters. There's some decent dialogue at the end of the movie. But for a lot of the movie, because I thought it was playing it straight, as a straight up horror, with maybe 1 or 2 gags in there, but mostly playing it straight, then it was hard to get my head around suddenly, okay, there's this shift at the end. And whether they were doing that all along, but so it was a bit uneven in that sense, but that's why I want to see it. That's why I will watch it again, because I think by the end I was getting a bit more into it, but as a movie I found it a slog, and a lot of the horror stuff I didn't think was very good. So that's another thing that drags it down, because even with some of the humour, as I said, later in the film, I was getting more into the gags. But for a lot of the film, I didn't really find it that funny or entertaining. And then you've got the horror stuff, which wasn't that great in my opinion. I felt because again, it's produced by the Sci-Fi Channel, and that really shows. There's some really awful CGI effects on some of the kills and some of like the chainsaw or the drills type moments. And the kills I just thought were a bit toothless and not particularly effective horror wise. The other thing is, even though I could see by the end what they were doing with the characters and subverting things and playing with certain tropes, I would say most of the characters I felt a bit one note. Like, I just felt they were a bit bland. Like, the main girl, Dana, I thought was pretty good, but I would say most of her friends I thought were, yeah, just kind of cookie cutter. And I think a lot of the supporting characters as well. Like, I wouldn't say the killer or the guy they were making you think is the killer. Like, I wouldn't say he was, like, particularly that good. Like, I think there's been better Slumber Party Massacre killers. The sister of one of the other characters who I mentioned was the stowaway. She was quite annoying at first, and they play that up in the movie where they're having this dance thing, and they think, yeah, she's just uncool, her dancing sucks, and she's just being a pain in the ass, so they kick her out of the cabin. And that's when she comes across like the first victim. And then you've got that whole cliche thing of the characters not really believing her when she's telling them, hey, someone's been murdered out there. And they just play that up a little too much, and it just drags on. But that's in tune with some of the other movies where it takes a long time for the main characters to realise what the hell is going on here. But yeah, I didn't really like the characters overall. As I said, the main girl was probably the strongest. And they do follow some familiar beats. Like, they do this thing with this group of guys they come in, and the idea is that there's meant to be a little bit of flirtation with the girls. And that's a little bit subverted by the fact that actually, particularly the main girl, Dana, isn't that like into them and just wants them to go away because she just wants a nice weekend with her friends. But yeah, those guys were annoying, and it just felt like a bit of an overplayed trope where it was okay, they're just coming in because they're going to be used as red herrings and they're going to be used as fodder for kills later on. And I guess I just didn't really care because they weren't very interesting characters to watch. As I said, the kills were mostly poor. I think there was maybe one decent kill out of the bunch that was sort of okay. And the twist, they do like a Friday the 13th style twist where it turns out to be the mother of the killer from the beginning. So it's like his mother there's a twist with her where she turns out to be the killer, and that's okay. It's a little bit on the nose. It's a little bit, well, we've done this before. Scream 2, of course, did it as well, and that was probably on purpose referencing Friday the 13th, but whatever. I don't have a big thing with that twist, but that's kind of, yeah, we've done this before. It's fine, I guess. But yeah, I'm left in a funny place with the film overall, because by the end I was getting some entertainment out of it, but it feels like I need to rewatch it with the knowledge of what exactly it was doing. Because speaking of Scream, it did have a very Scream type vibe. Like, by the end, it did feel a lot more like a Scream type movie, and that it was going for that. But overall, I just didn't feel it was that entertaining. Like, it wasn't consistently entertaining, and the horror stuff, just because it was a straight to Sci-Fi Channel type movie, the horror stuff really wasn't grabbing me. The characters at best were hit and miss, but like I said, like, maybe going in with the knowledge that it's more of a comedy next time, then I might get something out of it. The lead character I thought was a decent final girl at least. So that's one where I'll put a pin in it and definitely return to it once before. Because I think for a while the meta humor was a bit grating. Like, it was like, okay, it's another film that's meta, and why do so many films have to be meta? But like I said, by the end of the movie, I was getting into that stuff a bit more. So it's definitely one to return to another time. But at the moment, I am very middling on this movie, so I'm going to give it 5.5. And I've done all four movies now, like I said earlier, so I will give you a quick ranking of where I would rank the four movies so far. And this is going to be controversial, but if I'm just going from the top, Slumber Party Massacre 2 is my favourite Slumber Party Massacre. And I know that's a hot take, but it is. I did like that film for some of the different things it did, especially for the time. I really liked the music in that movie with the girl band they had, and the rock and roll stuff with the guy who was the killer, but it could have been in the lead character's head, and there was just a lot of trippy fun stuff in that movie, so I did find it an entertaining sequel. Number two would be the original Slumber Party Massacre, which I think is a very solid slasher movie with a feminist edge on it. Number three, I would go Slumber Party Massacre 2021, so the movie I just reviewed. Again, I come back to it. I'm not sure it'll go into the top two on a rewatch. It would have to really impress me, but yeah, it's solidly number three. And then number four is number three, the original end to the trilogy, because that was a very bland, forgettable movie with one or two moments, but overall it was the most forgettable of any of these movies. Again, cardboard cutout characters, pretty lame kills, and yeah, it was just pretty cheap, that one, and pretty dull to watch. It was definitely the least interesting of the four. So there you have my rankings and my review of Slumber Party Massacre 2021. Let me know your thoughts in the comments about this movie, and also where you'd rank all four movies if you've seen them. Hope you've been having a good October, guys. Let me know what else you've been watching this month in the comments below. Like and subscribe as always. And you can support me on patreon.com/boardnow for just $1 a month for a bunch of extra perks, including commentaries, early access to videos, and also special unpopular opinion type videos and more. And also you can sign up to be a channel member now, so 3 different tiers, and there's different perks spread across the 3 tiers, so you can support me that way if you choose. But thanks for listening, guys, and I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.